Okay, so we've got everything set up. What we just need to do now is wire it up in our main activity. So what we need to do now is we just implement all of our widgets. So we say private edit text, and this is just going to be called input edit text. We obviously have a button as well, which we will call our save button. And what we also have is an array list, because we're obviously creating a database list, which we need to then repopulate. So we say private array list. That's going to be of type item. And we'll just call this main activity list. It's going to be a new array list. Of things we need to put in is our adapter and our model. So we need to say private item is going to be called item. We're going to say private item adapter is going to be called item adapter. And we've obviously got the database as well. So we say private and we say database handler can just be called database. Okay, so now we've got everything set up there. We just need to set it up in our onCreate. So we can say input edit text equals find by ID r.id, and that's input edit text ID. We have a button as well, so we can call this save button equals find view by ID r.id.save button. That's it for what we have at the moment. So what we need to do is we need to set up a class to save our data. So what we can do is we go out of our onCreate and go private void, and we can call this save to database. So here what we're going to say is we're going to get our item from our model, and then we're going to set up what we want to save. So we want to save a string, so we're going to say it's going to be called the value, and it's going to be equal to the edit text input dot get text dot toString, and that's it. All we need to do now is go item dot set input, and we're going to set it to the value. Then all we need to do after that is just say our database, and we need to call in the methods which we created earlier. So we created a save method, and what we're going to save, we're going to save our item. And there we go, save the data. What we also want to do is create a method so we can refresh the data every time a new piece of data is entered. So we'll say private void, and we'll call this refresh data. So first of all, we want to make sure our data is cleared. So the data we're obviously going to be populating is this. So main activity list, say dot clear. And then what we want to do is say database equals new database handler, and we're going to get the application context. Now what we're going to say is we're going to say final array list of type item, and that's going to be called item from database, and that's going to be equal to the database dot get all items. After that, we can close the database. So here we want a for loop. So what we're going to say is for int I equals 0. And then we want to say when I is less than the size of the item from the database, all the way up to I++, we need to do the following. We need to set the string of value recorded, and that's going to be equal to item from database of the correct position, and then we're going to get the input. So here we're basically saying to populate this array list, we're going to get all of our items from our database, and then we're going to set our string from each value or each position to be populated with the input value. And then we just need to set it. So again, we need to say, item dot set input, and it's going to be set to the value recorded. And then we just need to add that to our database. So main activity list dot add, and then we add the item. Okay, how's that looking? So what we need to do at the top in our onCreate is we need to make a onClick listener for our save button. So we say save button dot onClick listener. New onClick listener. So here we just need to call our two methods. So we say save to database. And then we can say every time the database is, or every time something new is saved to the database, we can refresh as well. So the one thing I haven't added up here is our list view. So we say list view, and we call this list view with a capital V. Then we need to implement our list view. So find view by ID, r.id list view ID. And then obviously what we need to do is we need to set up our adapter, and we can do that in our refresh activity. So we need to go back down. This is our refresh data. So what we can do is we can say item adapter is equal to new item adapter, where we say main activity dot this, and then we need to say r dot layout, and we need to show that we're going to be layout, where we're going to be bringing up the layout which we generated, which is our list row XML. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be populating it with our main activity list. Next, we need to just set that as our adapter. So we need to say list view dot set adapter. That's going to be this equal to the item adapter. Lastly, we just need to say item adapter dot notify data set changed. Okay, so just reviewing the stuff we've done so far, the only thing I've forgotten is just to put this new database handler / get application reference into our saved database. And now if we run it, all should be good. Okay, so if we say test, save, it saves. Fantastic. So on test 2, test 3. Okay, so we're getting our data saved to our database and populating our list view. The next thing we want to do is to add our delete button. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have the individual row pressed, and when it's pressed, a delete button will show up over here, which will then press and do the deleting. Alright guys, we're 4 videos down and 1 video to go. The last video is just implementing the delete button. See you there.